important messages, of course, from President Cyril Ramaphosa today, in a way, perhaps in campaign mode, while delivering the ANC's January 8th statement at Mbombela Stadium. Professor Lesiba Teffo, political analyst, been watching it, of course. Professor Teffo, good afternoon to you. The President talking about jobs, particularly for young people, how, in the ANC's view, life has improved for young people over the last 30 years. How important is the issue of jobs, unemployment and youth unemployment going to be in this election?
Look, the greetings, Steve and the viewers. The issue of unemployment is bound to be with us for some time. We tend not to ask the appropriate questions. We look at the symptoms and say young folks are not employed or are unemployable. The question is why? You are not going to deal with the question of unemployment for as long as you have politicized and belligerent labor unions that forces those who have the resources to flee the country or to close their companies. How many mines shut off power? How many factories have been shut down? How many people with the resources have at least shipped them out of the country or have taken? How many dollar millionaires have left this country in the past 10 years? Those are the people who could have created jobs. But we don't want to talk about why are we where we are in terms of unemployment. Two, when it looks up unemployable graduates, unemployable youth, what is it that you and I are facilitating that possibility that people can be graduates and still not have jobs? Those are the questions that need to be interrogated. The type of curricula we have, the kind of expertise and skill we have in the Tibet colleges to produce the appropriately qualified artisans. Those are the issues that we must deal with, rather than to bemoan the fact that the young ones are not employed or employable.
Professor, it's interesting because the ANC's National Executive Committee statement, the sort of written text of the January 8th statement, talks about government's action plan to deal with logistics, with Transnet, and it talks a bit about load shedding, but there are no promises that load shedding will end this year. I thought that was interesting. Is that maybe wise on the part of the ANC to not promise an end to load shedding this year?
Yeah, but Steve, maybe you don't listen or you are not a good listener. I remember the Secretary General told you in no unclear terms, come the 24th of December, there will be no load shedding. Remember that? So, and there is no load shedding in their terminology, in their realm of things, okay? But that notwithstanding, here we are where we are, and then I don't see how we are going to overcome this problem with 3 ministers in charge of one portfolio, and all of them with different egos, and almost all of them say, we have been at it for much longer than you, the young man called Ramaphosa, and the fellow that I think is better, well qualified, and really having the capacity to make a difference. So, for me, it's just almost a rhetoric, archaic and anachronistic, and indeed not meant to achieve anything, but as a rallying tool for purposes of elections.
There's some indications that our politics is changing. We've seen some indications about this just in the last week. The idea that former President Jacob Zuma now campaigning for MK. And in a way, that's been the sort of dominant story going in to this event, partly because of the way Mbombela, the Secretary General, responded to it. Is Zuma's MK really a threat to the ANC?
Well, some time back, and you and I were alive to the reality, there was something called tsunami. And there was also a union leader who said, if you stop JZ from getting into the State House or the Union building, you will experience a tsunami. What am I saying? The second coming of a tsunami is well and nigh. Whether he will reach the State House is another matter. But he's really sweeping the country, undoubtedly. And I think the fear of the Lord is sent into those who had thought he might not come back again.
Could he really win a big share of the vote? I mean, obviously he has popularity in KwaZulu-Natal, but after everything that's happened, state capture, what we've seen at the Zondo Commission, do you think Zuma can really still win a large number of votes in South Africa?
No, it's not more about, for me, it's not about the Zuma or the Zuma factor. With or without him, I had a sense that they were still going to lose. But I think this is a precipitous action or move by JZ. He's making it almost impossible for them to receive 50+1. Make no mistake, don't underestimate the man. He's a wily politician. He's a chess master. And he knows the mood on the ground is receptive to anything that says anything but the ANC.
He is the person who founded the Robben Island Chess Club, if I remember. Ramaphosa and the NEC both saying that coalitions don't work for South Africans. He said they're good only for those involved in self-enrichment. And I was interested in that statement because what Ramaphosa is saying is that people should vote for the ANC to avoid a coalition in national government. But doesn't the ANC enable coalitions and what they call self-enrichment? I mean, look at what's happening in Joburg or Ekurhuleni or Mogale City or other places. So on the one side, the ANC is slamming coalitions very hard. But don't they make coalitions happen?
Yeah, but look, if you any senior student of logic will tell you that despite the fact that they are politicians, but whatever they say that don't make sense. Because even what the president himself is saying doesn't make sense at all, right? Coalitions work, and they work everywhere under the sun, right? They work everywhere except where people are self-serving, except where people see politics not as a way to serve the other, but to serve the self. I mean, in Germany, in Britain, how many coalitions governments have they had? They are so mature to extent that people don't even know or notice that there are coalition governments. And even this country, if you want them to work, they will work. But you need necessary attitude and disposition, the public spiritedness of the public office. But for as long as kleptocracy triumphs meritocracy, yes, you are going to tell me they don't work. And they will never work in South Africa, though they work in many other advanced democracies of the world where people serve the other and not the self.
Professor Teffo, I mean, I know some people have written the ANC off. I don't know. Let's wait and see what happens in the election results. But is there anything, any message the ANC could send now to voters that could make absolutely sure that it does win re-election? Could it maybe be about the NHI or a basic income grant or a change of course or dealing with corruption? Is there anything the ANC could say right now on this day, the 13th of January 2024, that could guarantee it re-election?
Look, people are much wiser today. People are less gullible today than they were 10 or 20 years ago. The ANC served us well in the past 15 years. The anger, the cynicism, and the skepticism out there is enormous. And hence you have this plethora of political parties founded and led by former members of the ANC. And they are all fishing in the pond of the ANC. What does it say? People have lost hope. And I'm one of those who said, there are good men and women there in the ANC. And some of them made me extremely proud to be South African, read the Palestinian issue. Indeed, there are. But for now, let them take a break. 5 to 10 years, cleanse themselves and rid themselves of the career risks and the opportunities and the leeches that feeds off the behemoth called the ANC.
So, Professor Teffo, I mean, that's an honestly held view. But I don't see anyone who's going to come close to what the ANC is going to do in the election. I mean, I think maybe only one other political party could come close to getting 20%, maybe two. The ANC is bound to get at least 40%. So, I mean, the ANC is bound to be twice as big as the next biggest party.
I have no doubt that is likely to be the case. That will be the case. And that's what some of us wish for. I would like to see the ANC continuing in a reformed, transformed, and renewed form with less than 50%, so that it goes into a coalition with other parties or with any party. Even if there are smaller parties, right, it would still help that the dominance is good. And would be to their advantage, by the way. It would be extremely very much to their advantage that they lose power so that the careerists can just fall by the wayside. And the true, authentic, bona fide members remain. it won't be a loss. It would be almost a redemptive move to lose, but at the same time to win, looking ahead rather at the immediate future. I don't see any party that really can unseat it, or even a coalition that can unseat it. But I would still say there is a possibility, and I would celebrate that loss, by the way, so that they can bring other parties on board who may be given a chance to speak for themselves. But Steve, let me tell you why we are where we are. If you had changed the Electoral Act on the recommendation of Dr. Van Zyl-Slabbert in 2002, the country would not be in this mess, and the ANC wouldn't be in this mess. Neither would it be faced with the possibility of losing power.
Professor Lesiba Teffo, thank you very much indeed.